All right, we're looking at the bottom of the front bolster, looking at the bearing sleeve for the front bolster. This is the lower sleeve or the lower bushing. And the way I started getting this out, I took a putty knife like this and found the corner there and started wedging it in there, and then I got it bent out enough to put a screwdriver in. And basically put a screwdriver in, kind of wedge it in like that. And you break out the seam to get it start to curl in, and then grab it with a pair of pliers or something like that and start working it up. I'm thinking this was replaced at one time. And here's the reason why. Right there it says 1/87. So this may have been replaced sometime in 1987 or a little bit after. It does show wear, odd kind of wear. The thrust bearing that sits down in here on top of this old dust seal piece retainer, when it's on the shaft, it wouldn't hard turn, and I may just need to be cleaned up, but I'm going to get a kit to replace this bushing, the upper bushing on this. It comes with a new dust seal and a new dust seal retainer plate, and also the bushing for the worm shaft, the seal up there, and then also the seal that's down there. The other thing I thought was suspicious on this, when I pulled the shaft out from the bottom, and it's on an earlier video, the seal for the upper part of the bolster came out with it, and when I looked at it, it was not a rawhide seal that I would expect on original, you know, if it's original seal. It was a more modern Viton or you know, rubber seal. So anyway, this may have been worked on in the last 30 or 40 years, don't know, 30 some years possibly. But I do not remember my dad taking it in to have it repaired. There's a lot of things I'm finding out on this thing that were done that I did not know about. That's one of them. Anyway, that's how you get this bottom bushing out. The big challenge will be getting a new one back in here, and we'll see how that goes. We're looking at the front bolster with it turned with the bottom facing up right now, and we're looking at the cavity where this new bushing will go in, where I removed the old bushing. I removed the old felt retainer, which this is the new one, and it goes in like this. And to get it out, all I used was a 2-inch socket that I had, just gave it a couple taps from this direction and it popped out. The felt washer came out with the shaft when I pulled it out. If you notice, there's a taper right here, and that helps guide this bushing in. This bushing right here. From this lip right here where it starts the actual diameter for the bushing, from there to there is about 1 5/8 inches to the center of the grease hole. So what I've done is mark the bushing like this, okay? Here's 2 inches from the center down to that end, 1 5/8 from the center up to the top right there. And so this end needs to stick up, and this end will go in first when we install it. So when I install it, I'm going to temporarily put the thrust bearing in the bottom. It will come out through this bushing. It's narrow enough when I pull it back out. I'm not going to install this retainer at this point. What I want to make sure is that this bushing goes down far enough and it can slide past the bearing, the thrust bearing a little bit. So what I'm going to do, we're going to line this up such like this, okay, and I'm going to take a tie wrap and squeeze this in at the top, and then I can cut it just as I put it down. Most people use a wood block and things like that to pound it down. What happens is this corner here, or this corner here and this corner here sometimes will be mismatched, either like this or like this. As you get farther down, it's hard to correct it, and you need like a special puck or something to control that, to make sure it goes down even and flat. If you notice, as I squeeze it down, it narrows up because of that bevel there to help guide this bushing in. So what we'll do, we'll put oil on the outside and a little bit of oil on the inside. And when we do the final installation of the shaft, then we'll put grease in here. But for right now, I'll just oil this up. So now let's install it. The first thing I'm going to do is install the new thrust bearing. And it will just sit down at the bottom. It goes in with this curved part facing upwards. The flat part goes down like this. So I'll set this in here just like that. And it's very loose in here, okay? The alignment of the shaft is done by the bushing. Next, I'm going to squirt some WD-40 inside here. I'll go ahead and set this, line the marks up like that. Keeping it aligned, I'm going to push it down as far as I go right there. Make sure I'm lined up here. Now I'm going to take my tie wrap, which is temporary, and squeeze that in all the way there. See what I mean? Those corners want to change on you. Alright. So what I did, I started with this piece of wood and I've gotten so far. And it is going down, and I'm keeping it at the proper rotating my hammer. Of course, we're getting pieces of wood in there I'll have to clean out. I'm just about as far as I can go with this piece of wood. I may just turn it this way. But anyway, that's how I'm doing it. And I may go back and put the shaft back in there to help drive it down. Looks like we're done with the tie wrap. As you can see, I got the shaft in here. I think I got it down to the depth I want. Pulling this back out. So, the way to do it, the way I ended up doing it, was taking this piece of wood, pounding it down as far as I go. I can only get it just above this lip right here. Then I have a piece of aircraft aluminum, and I went around like this kept moving it all the way around and kept tapping it down. Okay, and I got it down just a little bit below this lip here. I took the shaft, reinstalled it, raised it up a few times, and just kind of let it drop, you know, just a ½ inch or so, and it would drive it down until finally, I'm pretty sure, I was down to the thrust bearing. And as I said, that thrust bearing will come right out. So I'm going to clean this up, clean the inside of that, because, you know, a few pieces of wood chip came off. Then we'll put this in before we put the thrust bearing in, and that part will be done. What I got to do next is remove the upper bolster top bushing. It's a smaller bushing, and before I put this shaft completely in. So that's where we are. So now I've turned the front bolster right side up, and we're going to change out the upper bushing, which is located right there. How I'm going to do it is, I got this long thread rod. I've got the washer down here that I ground so it just fits inside and the right diameter to pull the bushing out. And this will be the new bushing that you see right here. On the top, I'm going to put this 2-inch socket here, run the bolt up, or run the all thread up, and put a nut on here, and I'll be turning that and pull it up through this 2-inch socket. So that's my goal. So here we go. We're going to try it. This bushing is longer than this 2-inch socket, so I'm going to have to stop and probably make a bridge across the top here to get it all the way out. But definitely need this socket to get initially moving. Seems like it's moving pretty easy now. Alright, so I'm going to back it off and see how far we come here. Yep, definitely it's pulled it up. So I've got a bar that I'll put across here. I don't need to show the rest of that, but that's how I'm pulling it out. I'm now working on this horizontal bushing here that the steering shaft goes through. I removed it using this method. I had a little bit different socket on this end, and I pulled it out this direction using this ½ inch all thread. I used a 3/4 inch socket just like this one here, but now I've got a washer on it. I had it just by itself pulling on it this way, and it came out fairly easily. Then I also used a seal removal tool to get the seal out first. Okay, so now what I did, I had to get this started, so I got a socket and started tapping on it and getting it in at least this far, and then it made sure it was lined up as straight as it could be. So now I'm pulling it basically the rest of the way in. And as you can see, it is moving. Now I gotta make sure this washer clears right here. Probably the best way to do it is have mandrels or something made to the exact size to go on the inside and catch it directly, but I don't have that. I still got a ways to go. Make sure I'm clearing here. No damage where the steel is. Anyway, so that's what I'm doing, just pulling it all the way in. I filmed it off camera. As you can see, I've got this top bushing where I want it. It's flush here, pretty much, and flush back here. That's where it was originally. It's time to put a seal in. So here's the seal. I'm going to coat it with a little bit of black RTV, just for an extra seal, and it'll help hold it in there. I've got an 1 1/8" socket that fits it pretty much perfectly. I got it. There we go. Wipe off this extra RTV. There we have it. I've got one more thing left to do as far as putting parts on this thing, and that's the lower seal down here. I'll put this seal in that goes up in here, and I'll probably show how I do that. We'll try it. That's a hard one to get in. Because it's so far up, it's actually up in this area right here. So that'll be the next step. We're at the point now to install the upper seal in the upper bolster, at the upper part. And it's a long ways down there. You can see there's my hand down there. It's about that deep. So I'm going to lay it in there. I've cleaned it out. Push it with this, and I've got a 1 3/4 inch socket that I'm going to use to drive it home. I got it centered. So I'll have to back the camera back a little bit. Looks like it drove it most of the way home. She's in there. The next thing to install is the felt seal retainer, which is this piece here. It goes in the lower part of the upper bolster, and it shouldn't go in too hard. I'm just going to use this 2-inch socket, tap it down, going around the edges. Make sure it's completely seated. Let's see. I keep bumping the camera, sorry about that. I believe it's seated. Now the felt seal will go in here just like that, but I'm not going to leave that in there right now. I'm going to leave this out until I'm ready to install the bolster shaft. I'm not quite ready to do that. Also, what goes on top of this felt seal is the thrust bearing, and we'll show that when it comes time.
That's all the time we have for in this episode. Thank you for watching this video. If you like this video, please hit the thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. Please continue to join me for the next episode as I restore and rebuild this 1954 International Harvester Farmall Super MTA tractor.